What's gear shakeout and why is it important when it comes to firearms training? I'll tell you all about it in this episode of Tactical Tidbits. Hello, my friends. Welcome back to another episode of Tactical Tidbits. I'm Herman Morris from Alpha One Tactical. So those of you that have been doing quite a bit of training have probably come across the term gear shakeout, and you probably know what it is. But those of you that haven't done much training or any training are probably not familiar with the term. Now, I think that gear shakeout is an aspect of firearms training that doesn't get its due. I think it's very, very important, and we don't use it when we are talking about training, especially to people that we're trying to bring into firearms training for the first time or to get them to follow up on some initial training. So what is gear shakeout? Gear shakeout is basically putting our equipment to the test. Everybody understands that if we're trying to build a new physical skill, that when we go to a class, we're going to be building these new physical skills, and that's what we're going to be drilling and practicing, etc. But not everybody, especially newbies, thinks about how important it is that we're also putting our equipment to the test. Our gear, our firearms, our accessories, even our clothing, anything having to do with the gear and equipment that we use for personal protection, self-defense, etc., is really, really important that we know without a shadow of a doubt that it'll work. And so we really need to focus a lot more on gear shakeout and the importance of gear shakeout when it comes to personal defense, at least in my opinion. So I know a lot of people that have been training for a really long time understand this concept and they embrace it, but I just don't think that it gets enough emphasis, and especially for newbies. So if you haven't trained before, you haven't trained a lot, you need to understand that putting yourself to the test is just as important as putting your equipment to the test. So what does that mean? That means that, especially if we're dealing with firearms, the particular firearms, the firearms themselves, do they work? Can we run them hard, get them hot, get them dirty, and they'll still do the job? Or at what point will they start failing on us? It's really important that we know our points of failure, we know our equipment's point of failure. And anything that has to do with the firearm itself, any accessories or anything that's tangentially related to that. So it might be our magazines, it might be the ammo that we use, it might be any weapon mounted lights, it might be different sights, red dot sights, it could be anything that has to do with clothing. So our belts, maybe our holsters, maybe any soft goods, anything that has to do with things that we're putting on, so like a chest rig, whatever. So it's important that we don't just have this fantasy of how things might go down and that this thing's going to save me or that this thing's going to work. We really actually need to put it to the test and train with it and run it hard and see if it actually will stand the test of time and it will actually stand the test of pressure, just like us. So if we're going to bet our life on something, that we better be very, very sure that we can bet our life on it. So get out there, get your training in. Yes, focus a lot on the actual physical skills that you're trying to build with these new tools, but also make sure that you are not wedded to any piece of equipment. And if you're running it hard and it breaks or it doesn't perform the way that you expect it to, or it stops working at some point, it falls off, or whatever it might be, that you are really, really readily willing to toss that thing in the garbage or to take it off or to put it on another weapon or somewhere else that you're not using specifically for the purpose of personal defense. So come out and train with us. We'd love to teach you more about gear shakeout. We'd love to help you put yourself to the test, put your gear to the test, and be all the better for it. Okay? See you next time.